Savage Dragon 92 from October of 2001. Bring on the bad guys. I really dig this cover. These lines that Larson cuts across the silhouettes on the lower portion here is a pretty cool effect. Maybe a little of the Frank Miller flavor, maybe. We'll get into that later. Inside, let's knock out these credits. Eric Larson, writer and artist. Chris Eliopoulos, letters. Ruben Rude and Abel Motown, colors. And Josh Eckhorn, chief inspector of subway toilets. So bring on the bad guys. It looks like Dragon and Frank are continuing their sightseeing mission from last issue. A lot of heavy exposition in this one, so I hope things move along a little quicker here in issue 92. So Dragon is gearing up with some gimmicks that he's found all over town. There's this crazy, powerful gun, some other doohickey here, and this vest that you see Frank holding there. That thing's going to come in handy very shortly. Then there's one more thing down here, and I'm extremely curious if this thing in the last panel gets paid off. Maybe it's minor, but Frank asked about it, but we never find out what it does. Because before Dragon can tell us, he gets clocked right in his face by Demolisher. And his name is Demolisher. I think I might have called this Joker Devastator last video, but so does Larson, so it's no big deal. Killer double splash page here. Got the blood spatter from Dragon getting sucker punched. And the action continues. The Demolisher working the Dragon over like he was on acid. Look at his flat butt right there. So I guess this guy's been naked since issue 90. So his fancy little shorts got burned off, or maybe Larson didn't want to have to draw those anymore. Those very, very ornate shorts. So anyway, the Demolisher, and though he calls himself the Devastator, he calls himself the Devastator right there. So what the hell? This nude monster, he just starts demolishing and devastating the Dragon, so he can call himself whatever the hell he wants. And our man Frank Darling, no superpowers to speak of, just the power of courage and friendship, and a laser cannon, and he just blasts the shit out of the naked assailant. So that sends Demolisher ass over tea kettle, spilling down this hill, and this is a good page to talk about the look of this issue and the style that Larson is using here with the heavy blacks. And he mentioned in the letters in Fanatics that he had been enjoying Frank Miller's Sin City, and he wanted to experiment with some of that high contrast silhouettes and stuff like that. I'm not sure which Sin City Larson was reading at the time, because Hell and Back was actually like the most recent from 2001 or 2000 to 2001, I think. And this series is just insane. That's issue 9, but yeah, like issue 7, you got Big Guy and Rusty there. Just a wild ass series. So somebody ought to do a video on these things. Anyway, Demolisher, he shakes off that blast and then takes another one right to the face there. But he crunches the gun, so that thing's destroyed. But Frank's intervention there gave Dragon enough time to recover, so he jumps into frame and he boots Dale right in the face, right in his jaw. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, this monster is Dale Fisher, the firefighter who dated Dragon's partner, Officer Alex Wilde. He got turned into a freak so that he could get revenge for her death. Blah, blah, blah. Look over here. Goddamn Skullface shows up. That's great. We haven't seen this dude in forever. And he brought the whole damn Vicious Circle gang with him. And Hellraiser appears there. He has some crazy shotgun that just puts down both Dragon and Dale. So what the hell's in that thing? Jesus. All right, a quick interlude. Rock discovers Beast Boy and Feasel in the middle of a sugar coma. Distended bellies from all the candy they've been eating. They found a sack of cash and bought as many sweets as they could. So, very cute. And Dragon wakes up in a strange place. I thought this looked familiar. And sure enough, it's from issue 86. Back when Dragon was visiting Kansas City, Two different styles there, and the backgrounds are different, but pretty interesting. Larson never afraid to borrow from himself there. So, Jesus, what's he saying that about? Flying saucers, man. They attack again. And he runs, but they blow off his foot. And he says, you know, oh my God, not like this. And we see Dragon's skeleton just get obliterated. Oh my God. So this is a hell of a shocking page turn here. So what the hell just happened? That's what these two dudes are trying to figure out. And the last time we saw these guys was also issue 86. Yeah. They were trying to figure out if the dragon was actually dead or not. I think he's actually even reusing some of the same panels there. But that's what they're doing here. They're trying to figure out if Dragon's actually dead. You know, they say it's over then, right? He's dead. He's toast. He's worm food. It's clean this time. We saw his damn skeleton. I just didn't think it'd go down like this. But it's over. Man, and Frank Darling is shook. And he's blaming the Vicious Circle for letting him die. Skullface has no sympathy for his green-skinned friend. And then, what the hell, man? Dragon, he's alive. So what the hell's going on here? You remember that vest that I pointed out earlier? Where was that thing? Yeah, that vest. That's the same vest that was used back in issue 70 to kill Ann Stevens. They were disguised as a dragon. The user of that vest can make themselves appear like anybody that they want. And so, just like that, the Dale Fisher had the vest on. The Vicious Circle, I guess, stuck him on the vest there. And so this was actually Dale Fisher, the Demolisher, that got killed. Kind of a cop-out, I guess, but it works for the story because now Cyberface thinks that Dragon is dead, and but instead, our man is teamed up with the Vicious Circle and the Underground Freaks, who just recovered their backbones, and they're going to take down Cyberface together as America's fighting force. To be continued. On to Fanatics. Here Larson says, I tried doing a bit of the Frank Miller riff this time, but the whole high contrast thing, not entirely sure I pulled it off, but it was fun nevertheless. I really should use black in my stuff more often on a regular basis. So there you go. He also thanks his fellow collaborators, Ruben Rude and Eliopolis and Motown, for keeping up with the hectic schedule on a frantic approach to issue 100, which is a big milestone, one that we just crossed here. So this is the 100th episode of Savage Sunday, so thanks for tagging along on this reread. Larson also mentions that there's a new Savage Dragon statue or a bust for sale by Claiborne Moore. I could never afford those things, but looks pretty cool. Got plenty of fan mail here. 6 pages worth of letters and reaction to issue 90. Yeah, that's right, issue 90. And the revelation that Dragon killed his partner, Officer Alex Wilde. And there's a response in here somewhere. Maybe it was another issue, but basically Larson says that he considers Fanatics, the letters page, as like essential reading for anybody trying to keep up with the storyline. Basically saying that in order for fans to fully appreciate the story and for explanations as to what's going on, you better be reading Fanatics. There's vital information in here, especially if you've missed a couple issues. So I'll start with this one by Terry O'Donnell, who is sad to see the end of Larson's work on Marvel's Defenders, and he asked if they'll be doing any more work for the Big Two. But Larson says that he's lost the desire to play in the other company's sandboxes, and in order to do the characters in the way he'd like to do them, he'd be forced into some kind of Ultimates or Elseworlds type thing. And frankly, I hate that crap, says Larson. So this feels like an appropriate time to mention that next week, a new Eric Larson comic comes out, Spider-Man Noir, from Marvel Comics, October 1st. So look out for that. And Venom, Black, White, and Blood #2 features a cover and a story by Larson. So I picked this up, of course. Very cool. Got another letter by Macklin McLean, Dimer. Anyway, they get some interesting replies here from Larson. So first, McLean asks about the Revenge of the Sinister Six, which was the last Spider-Man work that Larson had done for Marvel before leaving for Image Comics. For my money, one of the most badass covers of all time. But McLean wanted Larson's reaction to a trade paperback that they just released of collecting the Revenge of the Sinister Six. And Larson says, Marvel seemed to have made it a policy to do crappy collected versions of their comics in the past, but they've gotten better. The Revenge book had some really awful art corrections that just ruined the whole thing. For some reason, they couldn't leave the next issue blurbs and indicia and opted to have the art replaced, drawn by some of the most rankest amateurs they could dredge up. In addition, the pages were chopped out or put out of order, or the color plates were mixed up, so the greens looked like purples, and any number of atrocities. So, like I said, they have gotten better, but things do still get messed up. In any case, I was tossed a couple of bucks when the Spider-Man stuff was collected, but it was pretty much bus fare. So, wow. Makes me glad I got these floppies. The collected edition sounds pretty awful, but yeah, this Sinister Six is great. So, sticking with McLean here, they ask about Steve Gerber and Howard the Duck. There's a whole episode about this that I'll link to in the description, but apparently Steve Gerber is back at Marvel writing Howard the Duck after they went through all this effort to steal Howard back and put him in witness protection in the crossover here. But now he's back at Marvel. So he asked about that, and Larson replies, I hope Steve has a decent experience with Marvel this time around in regard to Howard the Duck, but I have no idea what he's up to. But knowing Steve, it'll be worth reading. So, still sticking with McLean here. They sign off, and they say, bring back Demon Seed for issue 100. And Larson says, may you burn in hell for that remark. So I was like, what the hell? Who is Demon Seed, and why would Larson hate that so much? But then I looked it up, and I realized why. Demon Seed is this goofy bastard in Jim Lee's Savage Dragon 13 for Image X month. So enough said about that. All makes sense. So that's enough for the letters. Man, but check out this badass Jack Kirby Avengers homage. That thing's fantastic. Matt Talbot is the artist on that one. Followed up by Savage Tales by Nick Darrington and Brian Blake. This one's a throwback to an old TV show that the Octopus had as a work release program. Did not go well. We got Dragonbert by Carl H. Excellent as usual. And that'll do it for this one. We got the ad for the Image 10th anniversary hardcover next week. We got issue 93, America's Fighting Force. Adios.